Hi, this is Tim of the 1916 Company. Welcome and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email us for pricing at tmosso@the1916company.com. In 2010, de Bethune launched a model that would become its best known and its signature piece. The original DB28 won the GPHG Aiguille d'Or, effectively Best Picture at the Oscars of watchmaking, and became something of an icon for the small firm from L'Auberson. Well, for 2020, it launched this, the 10th anniversary DB28, adding something that the watch never lacked but now has in abundance, which is thinness. This is the DB28 XP Starry Sky. So the DB28 XP for extra plot is a thinner DB28, and it features the Starry Sky dial, which is fully customizable. 43 millimeters in diameter in grade 5 titanium. I measure it at 8.7 millimeters thick, and lug-to-lug, two different ways to do this, because these are the patented variable geometry spring-loaded floating lugs. At full extension, they are 54.4 millimeters from side to side. When fully compressed, 50.4 millimeters. There's a 4 millimeter range. The strap, or the space between the lugs, 26 millimeters. My wrist is 16 centimeters in circumference. I'll put this watch on my wrist and it wears well. Really, I could recommend this watch for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference, and you can see why. Those floating lugs will conform to you. It's a flat watch and it easily slides underneath the dress cuff, so while it's got a sporty air to it, it could be a dress watch in that sense, fitting under a formal sleeve, and you could see how well it would do that. Down the barrel is always the most honest angle. Over the top always exaggerates the width of a watch, but you can see even then the lugs are behaving themselves. The strap is a fantastic custom Jean Rousseau piece. Now, Jean Rousseau makes the OEM straps for de Bethune, so this is keeping it in the family. We have ultra large symmetrical rectangular scale alligator leather on the top, the most expensive cut of the hide in light gray, a genuine thread of rose gold metal, and then on the bottom a coating of rubber so that the heat, sweat, moisture, and grit of the wrist will not degrade this ultra expensive strap. A really cool piece right there. At de Bethune, buckles match cases. So here we have the open, airy, evacuated floating lugs, and we have a buckle that's very much in that image. You can see de Bethune branding on the bottom. We have the little torpedo tips or ogival lug ends here, and these have featured on most de Bethune watches since the original model, the DB1 chronograph, the first product in the year 2002, and it's a little design signature of the company that's migrated through most of its production. Now, you can see that the case is not symmetrical. The mid case has a thinner bezel and a larger cut profile, whereas at 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock, you can see that the bezel is broader. It's almost like a piece of fluid metal that's flowing down. We also have engine turning here. Now, this may not look like traditional guilloche, but it has a lot in common with it, as it is reductive. It's not molded in or machined in. A traditional graving lathe is used to create this microlight style of reductive patterning. And you can see that this watch has a case that is unique to the XPs. This is both engraved and shaped in a fashion you will not find on a DB28. We do here have a double knurled crown that's easy to grip. It's a screw down, primarily to protect it from inadvertent contact with the lug or the strap. The watch is 30 meters water resistant, but it's particularly stout 30 meters with the screw down crown. De Bethune makes its own cases, dials, and movements, so they've internalized all the parts of production so that they can build small runs. A supplier doesn't want to hear that you want 9 dials or 12 cases, but that's often the extent of their run of any given model. So in order to control quality, but also to permit small runs, they spent the money up front to be able to build hands, dials, balance wheels, movements, and cases. The case is grade 5 titanium, so both lighter than steel and more scratch resistant. And then the dial is made of titanium as well, but it's been cooked to turn it blue. Oxidized in a kiln with a proper amount of oxygen present, even application of heat creates this lovely blue, and that is a proprietary de Bethune method. It's also been used on the blue components of the case back, as well as the blue titanium balance wheel, which has white gold masses in its rim. That is the 10th balance wheel patented by de Bethune. They scrap the old balance wheel and design a new one every time it's possible to reduce the effect of aerodynamic on timing, the effects of temperature on timing, and also to maximize the percentage of total mass in the rim. Denis Flageolet, who's the watchmaking chief and the co-founder of the brand, is always redesigning his balance wheels. A lot of companies would be happy to just buy one example. They have created and fabricated and patented 10. We have the deltoid signature of de Bethune. There's no place for it on this dial or on the case back, so Denis was able to include the form, which is inspired by a leaf he found while hiking, on these rose gold hands. Now, we have microlight again on the dial, more reductive engraving by engine. We also have these little cabochons of white gold portraying the sky over La Berson on the night in 2002 when de Bethune was founded. But this is customizable, so if you have a specific place and date that's important to you, de Bethune can recreate the sky that night over that place. It's a custom option, but there's a lot of custom options at de Bethune. They call it the CS program, anything from a modified existing watch to a pure bespoke piece. Now you can see here we have a full balance bridge to better brace against shock. We have that titanium oscillator. We actually have a silicone escape wheel, you can just barely see, that reduces the need for lubrication and reduces friction. 2 mainspring barrels for 6 days of power reserve, manually wound. You cannot accidentally overwind them. These are patented self-adjusting barrels. A mainspring will slip to relieve the pressure. So that's patented. The balance is patented. So is the curve of the hairspring. If you look really carefully, you could see it's actually 2 pieces clamped together by a micro clamp. And so that micro clamp allows 2 hand-formed curves to be joined together to create a flat hairspring that breathes concentrically like an overcoil and gives you the same position-to-position timing stability that you would get with an overcoil, but with the flatness and thinness of a flat hairspring. It beats away at 4 hertz, so they don't use any gimmicky low beat rate to get that 6-day power reserve, and all of this pivots on 27 joules. Take my advice. I've seen a lot of these in the fabrication stage at the factory, and although you cannot see the movement on the XP in order to make it thinner, it is beautifully finished. If you love this watch, reach out to Team Mosso at the 1916company.com for purchase and pricing details.